applicants who would like to test their video or audio right now, please feel free to do so. You will need to be on video and able to speak to us for this evening.
Hey, Kim, do you want me to go through the slides or just wait for now?
Yes, please.
Okay. The Italian Village Commission. The meeting's about to start. So city staff will present application materials. This is the order of speaking. Applicant will be sworn in and asked to present any additional materials. Registered speakers will be sworn in and provided 3 minutes to speak each. And commissioners will discuss the case and ask questions if needed. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong slide. My bad. This is having some issues here. I'm sorry. So that's when the meeting's about to start. And my PowerPoint just crashed. Just a moment.
It's okay. I have to shoot a meeting invite to somebody real quick, so.
Okay. Off to a good start. I apologize. All right, so let's try. I see the problem. One moment. PowerPoint has been failed on me. I apologize. So let me see if I get it up. Don't know if I can get up this. Imagine this is Victoria Village. I'm sorry. It's just the old one. Thank you for joining the meeting. It's going to begin here any moment now. Attendees are muted upon meeting entry. You will be unmuted as appropriate. The chair will call on participants to speak. If you have questions, you may send a message via WebEx chat to the host, which is me. You'll be required to have your video feature on if you're speaking. The meeting is being recorded. To access meeting materials, you can go to the following website right there. And comments received via WebEx chat will not be part of the official public record. Applicants and speakers, please turn off your video at this time. Use the hidden control panel in WebEx to turn the video off. Staff will ask that you turn your video on prior to speaking. Also, speaker slips are required to be submitted no later than 2 hours prior to a virtual meeting. Were there any speaker slips, Kim?
Yes, there is a speaker slip for agenda item number 10.
Okay. And then finally, as I said before, the order is that city staff will present application materials. Applicant will be sworn in and asked to present any additional materials. Registered speakers will be sworn in and provide 3 minutes to speak, and commissioners will discuss the case and ask questions if needed.
Give me a second to shoot a quick email to one of our applicants, and I think we might be ready to go because I see Lauren's on here. All right, just a quick reminder to both commissioners and applicants. I am staffing both the Italian Village Commission and the Victorian Village Commission. Victorian's hearing is tomorrow, so typically feedback, you could expect it within 3 to 5 days. I would wager it is probably going to be 5 to 7 business days or so before you get your meeting stuff back. Hopefully it's sooner, but just to remember for anybody whose item is continued tonight or who has had a conceptual review, you get an additional week from this evening to submit your application for next month's hearing. And I can always try to answer emails as well tomorrow because I cannot multitask and do them during this meeting, unfortunately. So if you do have any questions during your item as well, please feel free to ask. But I am going to hand this over to Todd so he can get us rolling.
All right. Thank you, Kimberly. Well, I will call to order the Italian Village Commission hearing for April 13th, 2021, with our next business meeting being held on Tuesday, April 27th, 2021 at 12 noon via WebEx. And then our next regular scheduled hearing on Tuesday, May 11th, 2021 at 4 o'clock, also held via WebEx. Next, I guess we got to swear you in, Kimberly. Is there anybody else on staff that's we need to swear in tonight, or is it just you?
Yeah, it'll just be me.
All right. If you don't mind stating your name for the record.
Kimberly Bernard Sheehy.
And do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony this evening?
I do.
All right,
was
perfect.
really involved in the last
Mr.
that final
Canterbury,
phase, just because I got
could you mute
confused.
yourself, please?
Great. All right, and then we'll just go around with the commissioners. If you don't mind stating your name for the record as I call your name. Brooke?
Yes, Brooke Michael Smith.
All right. Lauren?
Lauren McNair.
David?
David Cook.
And then I am Todd Boyer. And then Kimberly, do we have any public forum this evening?
No, we do not have a public forum.
Okay, perfect. So then we'll just jump to staff approvals, which I believe are on page 6 of our packet. If somebody wouldn't mind, I would entertain a motion for approval for staff approvals.
I will make that motion for you.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor? David?
Aye.
Lauren?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes,
And then I'm also a yes, so motion carries. And then I'll just run through the addresses for any abstentions. First one being 3537 Hall Alley, 155, 157 East 4th Avenue, 15 East 2nd Street, 805 Beacon Alley, 834 Summit Street, 291 Neruda Avenue, 854 Summit Street, 800 North High, 1131 North 5th Street, and I believe that's it. Anybody have any abstentions for those before we move on? Okay, perfect. And then the last thing, kind of to close out the front end piece here, is I would entertain a motion for approval of last month's minutes, so March 9th meeting.
I'll make that motion for you.
All right, perfect. Somebody provide a second.
Second.
All right, thank you, Lauren. All right, so all those in favor, David,
Aye.
Lauren,
Yes.
Brooke,
yes,
and I am also a yes, so that motion carries as well. All right, perfect. So that jumps us into our new applications for this evening. And then, so I guess, Lauren, or Kimberly, it looks like items number 1 and 2 jump to staff approval, so we're actually starting at number 3.
Yes, I believe we're starting with some of the continued applications. Item number 3 is IV-21-02-007B. This is 347 East Fifth Avenue, and this is site 2 of this portion. So this application is for the installation of entry doors and the slot. Architecture is being requested for approval with the landscaping, exterior lighting, windows, and artwork forthcoming. So those will be approved separately. Buildings are to be 3 and 4 stories tall, clad in a mixture of brick, metallic panels, siding, and CMU. Commissioners at the business meeting appreciate the details of the canopy and entryways, but they need to understand what the materials and thicknesses are, specifically page 12 and 13. The commissioners would like clarification on the flashing and plate metal materials, as well as the thickness and what's brake metal versus profile. The doors appear to be the same gray color on page 14 for the detail. That doesn't call out the finishes. That needs to be confirmed. The door and finishes across the board. Projecting stoops would best be as limestone or stone versus the concrete. That's not successful or appropriate. Staff does recommend approval of the application with the condition that the flashing plate material thickness is confirmed and the finishes for the doors and windows are consistent. The basis for that approval are City Code 3116.12, the standards for new construction, specifically A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and K. And Todd, I will get this back over to you so we can get our applicant sworn in.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. For our applicants tonight, Matt are you going to talk? Oh, Dan, are you also going to speak tonight?
It'll be the both of us.
Okay, perfect. If you guys don't mind, well, let's just do it. Matt, would you state your name for the record?
Matt Canterbury.
And Dan, if you do the same.
Dan Haynes.
All right. Do you guys swear to tell the truth in your testimony this evening?
Sure do.
Yes.
Perfect. Then the floor is yours.
If you don't mind, Matt, let me jump in. So I know we got a lot of stuff tonight, so I'll try to get through this quick. So there were some questions on the thickness of the materials. I had sent back in Kimberly after the business meeting some clarifications on that. I don't know if that's in this packet or not, but I can quickly go through it. So the slot itself is not brake metal. It's a ACM, which is a 4mm thick. So we're not going to get the metal canning that we had talked about. And also above the door itself, the canopy piece, those are ACM with built-up aluminum angle shapes to sort of give a profile of an industrial piece. All of those will be with a 2-coat high-performance coating, sort of gray. And then there was a question on the doors, that the doors and the window frames will match in the same coat finish. So they'll all be gray. They won't be sort of aluminum doors and gray mullions kind of situation going through there. Yeah. So in red are sort of the clarifications to those thicknesses. So instead of me keep going on those 2 items, if there's additional questions, I can answer those.
Okay. Perfect. Then let's just go around the commissioners, see if we have any other questions or comments. Brooke, do you mind starting us off?
No, I don't have any objection to anything that you're doing. I do think it would be helpful, though, to have dimensions on, the thicknesses, thickness of the canopies and the width, etc., but not enough to hold anything up.
All right. David, any thoughts?
I think I'm on board with that.
Okay. Warren?
The architecture itself looks fine to me. I also like the addition of the public art piece. I think that's going to be really interesting. I think I just wish that I saw a little bit more in the landscaping plan. Just the renderings itself look a little bare, but I'd love to hear if there was some sort of,
So we're going back in later for landscaping. This was just
Oh.
architecture.
okay, perfect. When I read it, it looks like it was with the approval of landscaping, so thank you.
Unless you want to approve it.
Attaboy, Dan.
All right. I also don't have any comments. I think the ACM panels are a good compromise between solid steel shapes or angle iron shapes and the brake metal. I think it's also a good precedent for us to look and see how it performs in these kind of applications. But I think there's enough in the drawings that help us understand that. And I think from what I can tell, all the questions were answered. So I also don't have any additional comments. So with that, if somebody is willing to put together a motion.
Lauren, why don't you make a motion?
Sorry, my computer decided to update Adobe. Okay, I make a motion to approve IV-21-02-007B. Any,
Would you accept adding with the understanding that all landscape, signage, graphics, and lighting will be approved, will be brought back to the commission for approval?
okay, well, so with the exception that all landscape, lighting, photos, and artwork will be brought to the commission later for approval.
All right, perfect. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you.
Kim, would you just make sure that it's landscaping, graphics, lighting, and signage, please?
Yes, I have that.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. So for a motion to approve, Brooke.
I
Just-
approve.
There we go. Perfect. David.
Approve. Yes.
Lauren.
Yes.
And then I also approve. So with that, the motion carries. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right. On to application number 4.
All right, this application is IV-20-12-011. This is for 883 North 4th Street. This is to install an 8-foot tall round pole near the parking lot entrance. The new sign will be at 16 inches wide by 3 inches deep, with an overall surface area of approximately 13 square feet total. The stake portion of the structure would be painted black. On it would be a 1-inch thick rhombus-shaped PVC in 2 sizes in Pantone 165C orange. The round body will have 5-inch tall white and black vinyl graphics spelling out.
Can we do a timeout just a minute to get the background static out, please? We can barely hear you. Right?
Right, Lewis, were you able to mute whoever you needed to?
Worked.
David, is that
Yeah.
I think so.
all righty? So to continue on, the applicant requests that the sign have future consideration for solar LED ground fixture for vertical illumination. I have included the previous comments from the December 8th, 2020 Italian Village Commission hearing minutes. Commissioners at the business meeting applaud the difference from the previous application, but think something funkier in style and form would be better suited for the location. The design could have better materials or more unique craft materials, something more sculptural, perhaps something more horizontal to the ground and more sculptural and vertical. Commissioners think this is heading in the right direction. They request more of an artist influence and not as much of a sign. Staff recommends continuing the application to allow the applicant to submit the revised design. And this is based on the Short North Design Guidelines for signage. Yeah, I will give it back to you, Todd, so we can swear in our applicant who can fill in any holes that I've made. Todd, you're muted.
All right, it always happens. All right. John, are you going to be the only one speaking tonight?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. If you don't mind stating your name for the record.
John Blakely.
Raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony this evening?
I do.
All right, perfect. Thanks, John. Then feel free to kind of explain your application this evening.
Yeah, so this is the ground sign out front on the fourth corridor. And we're just trying, because the building is set back, approximately 100 feet, we're trying to get some signage out there. The little triangle of gravel is really the only area we have to work with because the other building is not on our property, and there are two other retail places to the south of us. So that little stick area is kind of all that we have, and we're just trying to, come up with some sort of signage that can be seen from the road.
All right, perfect. Okay, great. Lauren, do you mind starting us off with commissioner comments?
That's fine. I think I'll just have to echo what the commissioners in the business meeting said, where, I mean, I appreciate the change and the kind of direction towards artistic, but I'd like to see something a little bit funkier, for lack of a better word. Also, maybe it's just my screen, but it seems like this scale of lettering might be a little difficult to see, if that was your intention, or to like read from the road. So
It's just such a small area, and we're like limited by the size. How we're told, like my sign guy says, the code, how many square feet it can be there. So I mean, we're really just trying to kind of do anything.
I understand that. I understand that there are constraints to our sign code. I think just the way that it's laid out, it's a little, it's just difficult for me. But that's this commissioner, and so it's just one.
Gotcha. Thanks, Lauren. David, any thoughts?
David's muted, but I think he needs to abstain due to proximity.
Oh,
Me?
Okay, can you hear me now?
yes.
Oh.
I said that I would not speak due to proximity, but encourage the continuation.
Gotcha. Thank you. Brooke, any thoughts?
Yeah, I do. I actually didn't notice this at the business meeting, but the sign is one-sided. And so you're only going to see it going in one direction, whether you're on foot or driving. And I thought that was kind of odd. I think this has been through a lot of iterations, and so I don't want to, really say a lot about it, about whether I like it or not. But I will say that I don't like the PVC part of it. So I just wonder if the expense of it is going to do you justice with a one-sided sign. That's like the guy in the rendering isn't looking at the lettering unless he turns around. So that's all. I think it definitely needs to be continued.
And then my thoughts, I think I would echo everybody's thoughts from the business meeting that it's headed in the right direction. I think it's been a tough ask to provide this kind of ground sign in this location, but I think as it's evolved, it's gotten kind of more towards something that we could see improving. I think it just needs to continue that step one more time of maybe the more artistic it gets, starts to take it more away from a sign so it doesn't have to be front and back like Brooke is bringing up. But I think it's headed in the right direction. And I appreciate that it's not lit, internally lit. That's another big piece. I think some of the PVC and the vinyl, especially the vinyl graphics of the lettering, we probably asked for a little bit more sophisticated solution to that. But I think it's in the right direction. But I think we'd like to continue it one more time because I'm not sure we'd be able to just from what I hear, we wouldn't be able to pass it this evening. So I think it's on the right track if you're willing to kind of take it another step forward.
Okay, okay, I appreciate the feedback, and then if we did continue it, when is the deadline, or when does that get continued to?
It gets continued until next month, and I think, Kimberly, you'd have to answer the deadline. I'm not sure.
So you would have until Tuesday, April 20th to submit for next month, but
Okay.
I have, if you need more time and you weren't able to get it for next month, the deadline for the following months would apply. So you wouldn't have an extra week for, good God, for June, July, etc.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, I'll try to get it something by the 20th, and then if not, I'll contact you directly, Kimberly.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good.
All right, thank you for your time.
All right, hold on, John. We appreciate it. I would like to entertain a motion to continue this application from somebody.
So moved.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of continuation, David? Oh, you're abstained, I'm sorry. Brooke?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes, so motion carries. So we'll continue to next month.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, number 5, Kimberly, is that correct?
Yes, this is IV-21-04-009. This is for 299 Dickinson Street. And this is a two-part application. So the first part, which you do see A and B for ease of motions for later. But the first portion, A, which is the garage construction, this is additional garage detailing and rooftop amenity. Exterior materials will be the charcoal color, painted concrete, white powder coated wire mesh, horizontal formed metal panel, vertical formed metal panel, and aluminum fin. And then portion B is a conceptual review for the landscaping in the courtyard. The areas would include the resident courtyard, community plaza, courtyard breezeway, and entry courtyard. Park connector would include a potential location for art with the mounded landscape beds. Entry courtyard, we will have a raised landscape bed seat wall and railroad inspired sculpture. Community plaza will have a projector, movie screen, and the flex seating space, while the courtyard breezeway will have a covered outdoor lounge space with suspended seated elements. The resident courtyard is to have grills and bar top, fire features, synthetics, games court and lounge, and a water wall feature. Materials for all of these areas would include brick, buff wash concrete, stone, concrete walls, cordon steel, wood, and railroad track incorporation. So commissioners at the business meeting thought that the garage is headed in the right direction. They do have some hesitation with the screening decoration though. They're not sure if having Jeffrey Park on the garage would be the right way to go, as they've mixed use of the project name in the past. Commissioners would prefer to see a more artistic design used on the screening, something like names associated with the neighborhood or colored lighting to distract from the interior parking lights. As for landscaping, one commissioner discussed using a breezeway as an extension of that north-south corridor to cut through to the service drive. The materials for the landscaping did look appropriate. Staff recommends approval of the application portion A, with the condition that no wording is to be used on the garage screen material. And for the conceptual portion, just offer feedback that our applicant can use at a future hearing. The basis for recommendation is City Code 3116.12, standards for new construction, A, H, I, J, K, and N. And Todd, I will give it back over to you so we can get our applicant sworn in.
All right, perfect. Who actually, from the applicant side, Rob, is it just you? or
Yes,
is-
Rob Harris, Pete Scott, and then Christian.
All right. Rob, do you mind stating your name for the record?
Robert Harris.
And then Pete, if you don't mind stating your name for the record.
Peter Scott.
All right. And then Christian, if you don't mind stating your name for the record.
Christian Hasenfratz.
All right. If you gentlemen would raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony this evening?
Yes.
I do.
I do.
All right. Thank you very much. Then actually to make this, this may screw you guys up a little bit, but maybe easier for us. Could you, let's start with part A and talk about the garage, if you don't mind presenting it, like kind of present the garage, then we'll vote on that, and then present the landscape in kind of two separate pieces, if you wouldn't mind.
I think the
Perfectly.
packet that you're going to see is set up that way anyway. So
Yep, that's kind of what I was thinking per your packet. So take it away for the garage.
okay, Rob, do you want to have anything before I get in?
No, Pete, you go ahead and start.
Okay, we sat through the business meeting and appreciate the additional comments. Overall, we didn't make any major modifications to the screening of the garage, but we have removed the large text that was stated Jeffrey Park on the what we'll call the residential wall with the north end of the garage, as well as the east end. So all of that graphic work has come off, and any graphic work or signage that we plan to do, we'll bring it back to you, of course, and for approval and discussion. We also added a night rendering showing some lighting effects on the screening that we're looking to do. Obviously, we're working through those details, exactly what that would be. One of our main, one of the concerns is obviously screening the interior of the garage, but also protecting those lights from glare as you're driving on the highway. So we don't want the light pollution and kind of glare coming off of our building affecting anyone driving on 670. But overall, I think the screening of the garage is set up as a kind of a canvas to screen that garage, but also provide some lighting effects. But at this scale is not set to be too busy. It's much more of a fabric type of a covering in a metal panel and mesh, of course. We are looking to continue the open air screening or ventilation of the garage, so the screening can't be too opaque. But there's a nice effect to in the daytime as well as in the evening to blend this kind of exterior lighting, uplighting effect, as well as obviously having some lighting and articulation of the massing that's happening behind it. We're not trying to fully hide that. And then we've added a couple more images of the amenity deck as if you keep moving forward in the packet. There's some plans talking about some of the programming that's going in there. This is similar to the designs that you saw in our earlier plans, on the earlier process that we've been meeting with you about. But we did include some more 3D renderings of the pool deck, the views to downtown over 670, and the overall aesthetic that we're working towards as the residents, as well as hearing some feedback there, as well as the future plan. One of the concepts here is the upper deck of the amenity deck will service the office building eventually when that is built. So the pool deck is servicing obviously the residential portion of the property. The interior space is set up as a lounge, but also a event space that has the potential for being not only for the residents, but for public use and renting that out for the community. And then on the upper deck, but just on the other side of that massing, this image here is actually the amenity deck for the future office building that we're planning. So some of that program will spill out of the office into this area, and of course have the opportunity for the great views of downtown. And with that, I will end our side of the presentation and answer any questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Peter. Okay, commissioners, let's go around and give any thoughts or comments. Brooke, do you mind starting us off?
Sure. I don't have a big problem with the garage. I don't know a lot about screening, this type of screening, but I would imagine that there are different types of patterns that might give a little more interesting effect. And during the day, I think it's okay. It is very simple, as you say. However, I will say that the nighttime view was a big turnoff for me. I appreciate the fact that you incorporated some lighting. And I think it might just be the rendering. But it just looks like I would not want to be on that parking deck. And I think you could probably do something more with the lighting to make this more interesting, because I think it's going to be really visible. So that said, the amenity deck looks like it's not quite there, like it's conceptual to me. It looks not quite finished. I do like the later parts of this, so everything I'm saying will not be bad all the way through. But it just seems kind of not actually very inviting. And I'll stop there. You could use some green I think, on the amenity deck.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Brooke. David, any thoughts?
Well, I'll pick up on a couple of things Brooke raised, and staying with the image we have right now, there's a great deal of brown. I'd like the applicants to maybe explain, are these different materials at least, or is it all the same brown material? Or I guess we don't know enough yet to know what those are and how those big trellis pieces don't seem to be supported with pulls, or so are they lightweight? Are they, I guess I just don't know enough yet, and appreciate Brooke's comment about this maybe looks conceptual and we don't quite see how it's all standing there. I agree with her comment about, I was hoping to see more green planting, like the project directly across the street from this, where we were talking about the green bands that connect the two garage units. If you all remember back to that area, there was a water trough that kept vegetation growing. That could be a possibility to integrate detail in here. Sorry to go on about this, and I go back to the screening. I appreciate that Jeffrey Park is off the screen, but now it's been reduced to just screen, and I don't think that's what we were asking for or recommending. And I also don't think that just one light level is going to be in any way any distraction. All we need to do is look at the convention center garage that has all the vertical changing light work on it, and we have high-speed traffic on the ramp behind it from Summit and Third coming into the city, and there's no problem with distraction for the driver. The drivers on 670 are running parallel to that screen, not perpendicular. So I don't see how any changing of the light levels and maybe have it start at one corner and go across the screen, traverse, would be a problem, because you're running parallel to it, not perpendicular to it. I would recommend tonight that we continue this. We don't have the information to fully approve this. Moving in the right direction, not being negative about that, but I don't want to see us just a blank screen wall along the freeway.
All right, thank you. Warren.
May I address that before you start?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. First off, in regards to the screening, this is a commitment that we are doing screening and we are doing lighting. We plan fully with working with the North 4th Street Special Improvement District. We're also going to have a call of artists, and we're going to turn this totally sculptural. The one thing we wanted to stress tonight is that, yes, we are going to fully screen and fully illuminate the garage in a manner which is acceptable for an art district like Italian Village. But it is going to take months. And just in regards to our permit process, it'll take 4 to 6 weeks. And then the garage construction takes 5 months. We have plenty of time through this whole process to narrow and start whittling that down. So it'll be truly an art form on that. So please understand that we're not meaning this to be a very straightforward, simple approach. And also in regards to the materials on top of the roof deck and the greenery, you'll be hearing shortly from Christian. We're working with Pod Design, and they're going to integrate in regards to the landscaping on the rooftops. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rob. Warren, any thoughts?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. I don't really have anything else to add. I agree with David and Brooks' comments about just a little bit more development needed. And then I think I would want to see a little bit more detail as you evolve it, just how the screen, the framing of the screen, how it's connected to the garage, all details I know you have to create, but I think we'd want to better understand how it attaches and what that big band, dark band across the top of the garage is. Some of those kind of details just in the next step. So with that, David, you had made a suggestion. Do you want to make a motion for part A?
I'm a little bit conflicted because I respect that Rob, as long as we all have worked together and expect them to follow through. But if we make a motion to approve the application tonight, we have a lot of unknown things as you've just spoken about. So I would still make a motion to continue this with asking for specific details on the screening and that type of thing, with a note that we understand that the lighting design, that the owner and applicant are committed to making it an art piece, and that will come later. But we're talking about just the basic details of the building that still aren't resolved, not sure what certain materials are. And yet, if we approve it tonight, then we have no say on it later on. To the other commissioners now, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm going to make a motion to continue A.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you. Then I'll go around. Lauren.
Yes.
Brooke.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
And I am also a yes. So motion carries to continue to next month, just to see a little bit more evolution and details. On to portion B. You guys, I'll turn it back to you, Peter, or Christian, whoever is going to talk about portion B.
That's going to be Christian.
All right, perfect.
Hey, good afternoon, commissioners. This is the courtyard and the park connector that we're presenting here. We're looking at as a connection of the central park space. So as you'll see on the kind of overall site plan, we have not finalized the design for the park space yet. But we know that we want to have a strong connection with what we're calling this park connector on the north side of the street and the main courtyard of this Phase 9 development. If you flip to the next one. So you're kind of zooming in here for the two courtyard spaces that are all linked together on the ground floor space. This is picking up a lot of the same design language as you can kind of see from the park space above with some of the angular walks. The other thing that you'll see as we continue through is that there's an element of wanting to pay some homage to some of the history of the site with some references to some of the industrial past. we've broken up the courtyard space is divided up into sort of what we're calling the main entry courtyard that faces that park connector. So that's a nice open green space that links across the street. Beyond that, there's what we're calling the community plaza, and this has some interesting seating elements that create a plaza that can be used all the time, and also doubles as kind of a seating element for the opportunity for some outdoor movies that could be projected. There's some outdoor dining, and then through a breezeway is more of a kind of resident-focused courtyard, but it's all connected. And those two courtyards, it kind of creates almost sort of like an urban alley kind of feel as you continue through. So this first view is of the park connector facing the Phase 9. So we're starting to show some mounted landscape. The other really important thing is that we're thinking about how we can create spaces within that park for location of art, whether that sculpture elements. So those are all kind of future elements, but we want to make sure that we're thinking ahead and providing those spaces. And then this is the main kind of courtyard that again is facing that park connector. So we have a raised seat wall, some lighting, pedestrian lighting that helps guide visitors, to some of the main entries into the building. There's some dining shown on the left side that would be associated with that future development. And then this raised bed is another opportunity for art, whether that's kind of a rail-inspired piece. Again, this is something that would be a future element that would come back, but providing that location for it now. And then as you continue to the next one, this is kind of the back side of that, where we're showing the raised seating elements. We've got some reference imagery on the side. One of them is the High Line in New York that has kind of these movable pieces on rail. So I don't know that we'll do something exactly like that, but the idea of how they were able to pull some of that flavor of some of the past into the project, that's something that we're looking to do in a kind of subtle nod there. This is the breezeway connection. And so we want to make sure that that feels very seamless, between all of these courtyard spaces. So we're showing a variety of different seating. Obviously, with it being covered, there's the opportunity to do some hanging seats. And it's starting to kind of set up kind of that, like I said, sort of this urban alley kind of feel that connects through. And then for the last kind of portion of the courtyard space, we've got some of the resident amenities. So we've got, fire feature, some grills, a water feature to kind of help add sort of that nice ambient sound throughout the courtyard and acts as a focal terminus as you're coming through that breezeway. And this is just another view of the same that has, and we're also proposing, some synthetic turf in this courtyard since it's pretty narrow and shaded. With and then the last, yes, this has some of the proposed materials that we're thinking of. So kind of that simple palette of some pavers, buff wash concrete, and then some accents with wood, some Corten steel, used sparingly, but again, trying to evoke some of that past kind of history of the site. So I'll turn that over to questions now.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Christian. Commissioners, any thoughts? Lauren?
I have no questions. I appreciate how thorough the package was. Kimberly, what was said in the business meeting about the breezeway being more integrated?
I had to scroll back up, sorry. This was to connect the kind of courtyard all the way through for that north-south connection. So that would be putting in another breezeway, I believe, at the southmost portion, and that was a comment from Commissioner Goodman.
Okay, I have nothing else to add. I like the plan.
All right, perfect. Brooke.
I think it's really nice. I like it a lot. I think the landscaping is nice and well thought out. It looks like it's the maintenance of it would be easy to care for. Yet it's interesting. And the amenities are really nice. Really nice.
Thank
Hope
you.
you can do it all.
Perfect. David.
I think this is going to be something that becomes a destination. You bring anybody, everybody to see this piece of urban landscaping, and 100% behind it. I appreciate they didn't do standard light poles that look like a parking lot. I thought the lighting was interesting. I like the variety of activities. It seems multi-seasonal. I think it's a home run all the way. I think a lot of thought has been put into this, and it shows.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll echo the same thought. Appreciate all the material choices, the differentiation of spaces, the material palette. So I'm totally in favor as well. I just have one comment, and bear with me because I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to landscape, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's the entry courtyard rendering, and I guess it's more of a question. Is the raised bed that houses the sculptural rail element or something, it seems intentional to somewhat protect the community plaza. But when I first looked at it, my reaction was kind of had an office park type of approach as it connected across the street that made me wonder if the raised bed was flipped and maybe divided the office space from the community park versus hiding the community space a little bit from the street. But it may be very intentional because you're having the movies and stuff behind there. So it was just a thing I wanted to say. But either way, it's still very nice. Totally behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it kind of serves twofold. It is providing a little bit of a kind of buffer from that kind of seating area, but it also lined up really nicely with that park connector. So it's providing kind of this raised element as a terminus as you're coming through that park space. So it kind of helps to elevate whatever art piece goes in there. But the intention is that raised landscape bed, and it's also being used as a seat wall, so that so it's providing a lot of seating in that area, but that the landscape that goes in there isn't very tall, so it's still maintaining views through and back to that space as well.
Gotcha. All right. Well, perfect. This portion is conceptual, right, Kimberly? So great. If you've got enough feedback from us, look forward to
Correct.
seeing
And
it.
thank you, Todd, and thank you volunteers very much for caring about the neighborhood.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Kimberly, application number 6.
This is application number IV-21-04-010 for 1077 North 4th Street. The application is to remove and replace existing non-historic windows with the Geldwin sightline, altering the existing openings. The windows would be 2/2 double hung or casement, depending on where the location is on the house. Doors are to be replaced with a single glass panel door. The eastern redbud tree is to be planted on the same side as the existing tree, which has already been approved to be removed, and that would be equal distance from the deck and the sidewalk. Additional landscaping is to be added to the front yard. This also includes removing and replacing the existing historic siding with hardy plank lap siding and iron gray with a smooth finish. The width is supposed to be the 5¼ inches and the exposure is supposed to be 4 inches. Commissioners at the business meeting commended the porch design but needed clarification on the posts. They thought that the 6x6 posts were too large and treated lumber is not appropriate. They recommended using the 4x4 post, which would be more appropriate. Drawings did need to be revised to show the shoe and cap moldings on the columns, and a 1.5 inch to 1 foot section drawing of the porch was also requested. HPO staff was able to check the file. The window openings on the front are not original, so I'm assuming some of the other ones probably are not as well, but we do not have roof photos available in the file. That work was done between 1999 and the present to downsize the previous window openings, and photos should have been included in the packet. I went into the office over a week ago, and I'm afraid I don't quite remember if I updated them, but I should have based on the staff report. Staff recommends approval of the application with the condition that the drawings are revised to show that 4x4 columns, and that a section drawing of the porch is submitted. Different siding orientation materials should be used with the two additions than with the main body of the house. Siding with the 4-inch exposure is used with all materials to be submitted to staff prior to final review prior to issuance of the certificate. And this is based on City Code 3116.11, the standards for alteration 2, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 11. Todd, I will give it over to you so we can swear our applicant in.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Kimberly. It's like Chris, looks like I see you on there. Are you the only person that's going to speak tonight on this application?
Yes.
Okay, if you don't mind stating your name for the record.
Chris Biesecker.
All right, and do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony this evening?
I do.
All right, thank you. If you don't mind kind of giving us a little overview of the application tonight.
Yes, so with previous comments, we had went back through, and on the interior of the home, we have removed some drywall and opened the structure up a little bit so we could see what the original openings were for the windows. So as you can see in the drawings, we have updated those. The only one that was a little bit larger was the one that is going to be in the kitchen window. The way it laid out, it wasn't appropriate, in my opinion, to put a small window in that section of the house. It's on the side of the house, not visible from the street. I think everything was approved previously on the black finishes and the putty grills. So basically everything in the drawing that were submitted has been revised to the larger actual original sized openings. Let's see, the doors, those have previously been approved. The Eastern Redbud replacing the current maple tree that's growing into the public right-of-way with utilities. That's pretty straightforward. We have also added, for clarification, the porch sections to the end of the drawings here that indicate the 4x4 post with the coping, and we've also attached a photograph of another property where we're trying to simulate the same look, if that makes sense. And then on the siding, there is previous historic fire damage on some of the siding. There's also issues with rot. And there are 2 additions on this property from the original building itself. So we're recommending and we're trying to go with the hardy plank lap siding. So I'll open it up for questions from the commissioners.
All right, perfect. Who would like to start? David, any comments?
I'm basically in favor of approving the applicant's direction. I think the changes in the windows, knowing that we don't know exactly where, if any previous windows, I think all of these are logical when you look at the elevations that he presented of aligning windows over one another. This seems to be appropriate. I know that I probably will be a minority on the pictures you've just seen of the wood fire damage. Having lived in a house now in the village for 20 years that has that problem, and how many times it has to be repainted and retreated and never looks finished in a way, I would be accepting of the hardy plank.
All right, thank you. Brooke.
I think there's been such a great amount of detail put into this. I really appreciate it. The one thing I have just maybe a question is the porch detail on sheet 25. I don't know this, and so I'm asking if the overhang of the top cap on the column. So you have a 4x4 steel post that's wrapped in wood to make it a 6x6. The piece of wood at the top feels like it has a really exaggerated overhang from the column, and I mean it's just a comment if that is an appropriate amount of overhang. I think you're going to have some nice bird nests up there.
It would, with the dimensions, that would be what, 2 inches on the side, maybe in the drawing, yeah, it's not proportioned. It doesn't look proportioned, but it would be a 2-inch overhang or 2-inch reveal.
Yeah.
On that top cap.
Okay. I mean, that's what I figured. I just, I did the math, but didn't know if 2 inches was a little excessive or not. Maybe David or Todd have a better feel for that. For column details. The photograph doesn't, in the lower right corner, doesn't look as if that is quite 2 inches, but I'm good with it. I think you've done a great job with this.
Thank you.
Warren, any thoughts?
A question. Looking at the submittal, I just wanted to know what the difference between pages 9 and 5 were. Because it looks like there's slightly different fenestration patterns, and I just wanted to know which one we're approving. Just to know. Sorry, it's dark. Page 13 and page 17. So there's one where there's the second, and then there it's missing.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I just was curious because they weren't labeled, so I didn't know which one was which. And then it looks like
Are you seeing the two columns as you would step up onto this porch? The two columns seem to have a capital on them, but then the two at the far ends don't seem to be carrying that same detail.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's not correct.
Okay.
Is that what you were seeing, Lauren?
Well, and also the windows. So some are missing windows on them, and some are not. It's just I just want to know which one.
That is probably more than likely the software, an error on the software. To be totally honest, all the columns will be identical in appearance.
And then, are you taking out the second story window, or are you keeping it?
No, it's keeping. It just didn't produce it on that elevation. I apologize. I missed that too. Good eye.
Questions?
Good.
All right, thank you.
And then, yeah, I'm in favor of all the changes in what's been put into this house. I think that there are some of those administrative pieces. I think we just need to make sure I guess it's page 24 maybe, which is the framing detail, or the framing page for the porch still calls out the 6x6. We'll just note that that's going to be 4x4 per the actual porch detail versus that framing plan. And then I think Brooke is onto something with the overhang of the trim on the column capitals. I think a lot of times maybe there's another intermediate, even the picture shows it, a little 3/4 inch piece between those, which makes it not look like such a drastic overhang. So, which is what you show below at the bottom. I think that may happen at the top as well. Otherwise, I think a 2-inch overhang is probably a little bit too large. Probably 1.5 inches is the most you would go.
Okay.
So I think with a couple of those changes and clarifications, I'm in support of the direction.
Let's just explain to the applicant in a minute that while this seems like maybe it's a really picky issue, but if the drawings are not accurate and they get approved, then we have no way to go back. So we're not trying to make extra work for you, but we could approve tonight the directions you're going and simply add to the motion that certain elevations need to be corrected to be accurate for the building permit that would be given to Kimberly for final approval. Does that make sense, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So in light of that, I'd like to make this motion to move forward to approve this application with the understanding that certain elevations need to be corrected for the final approval application, but does not need to come back to the commission.
All right, perfect. Beat me to it. All right, then I'll go around. Those in favor: Brooke,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Lauren.
Yes.
I'm also a yes, so motion carries. Kimberly, do you have everything you need?
I do, thank you.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right, motion carries. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate it.
Your time. Yep.
All righty. Okay. Application number 7.
Yes, and just so we're aware of time, it is 5:06. I think we might actually be making decent progress.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, there it goes.
Knock on wood. Keep up the pace. Alrighty, so this is application IV-21-04-011. This is 1167 Say Avenue. This is for the demolition of the existing shed at the rear of the lot, and then a new build, which includes changes to a previously approved application from 2017. This reduces the height down to 70 feet, which it was previously 80. This increases the second floor rear exterior area, and then includes a ribbon style driveway to address previous paving comments. I have included the commissioner comments from the February 2020 hearing. This was a different design that had been reviewed, separate from the 2017 one, which this current application would modify. So commissioners at the business meeting requested clarification if the ribbon driveway was paving strips. They also wanted to know the previous lot coverage from the February 2020 review and if variances were approved in 2017. HPO staff did check the file, and I believe I did include the 2020 materials as well. But in 2020, no lot coverage details were provided. So the drawing didn't have any measurements on it.
Okay.
Staff does recommend approval with any clarifications, modifications noted by the commission, as that revised design is based on a previous approval, and recommendations or basis for recommendation of the staff approval is based on City Code 3116.12, the standards for new construction, A, C, D, E, and F. And Todd, I will give this back to you so we can swear in our applicant.
Right. Perfect. Thank you. Carrick, if you don't mind stating your name for the record.
Carrick Sherrill.
If you would raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony this evening?
I do.
All right, thank you. Then it is all yours to kind of run us through the updates in this application.
Yeah, this is really, we've done everything we can to try and match the what was approved in 2017. It's a 2-story single-family home. The elevations are very similar to the adjacent homes. The eave height is generally matches the adjacent homes. It might be a couple inches off just due to, you know, the current dimensions of construction materials. You can see that in sheet A22. We have changed this from a 2-unit to a single unit. And in the process, we have reduced the length of the building, not the height of the building. The length of the building was reduced from 80 feet to 70 feet. The lot coverage is just under 50%, so there wouldn't be any variances required for any part of this application. There were variances approved in 2017 for lot coverage. I think there is a variance required for fronting on a on an alley. But I checked with city staff, and I wouldn't need that variance as long as that was the only variance that would, or the theoretical variance that would be needed. So the design pretty much matches, you know, what was there previously, not previously, but what was previously approved, and I'll take your comments.
All right, thank you. Brooke, do you mind starting off with our comments?
No, that's fine. I think that the length of this building with the attached garage feels really kind of out of proportion. I get that it's probably been approved and you have made it shorter, but it still feels very long. And given the lot coverage, if it's not over its lot coverage, there is like basically no yard. It's all house, garage, and then driveway with 2 cars sitting in the driveway. So I do actually have some, I'm not just real crazy about it. The garage doors feel like there could be something more going on there instead of just the plain garage doors. I think the door that goes into the mud room needs a little more definition of what's happening there. And then the front fence is so totally different from the neighbors, and maybe that's okay. I don't know. I'm just you know, noticing that it's kind of out of character with what's existing. And the other thing is that it looks like an excessive amount of downspouts in the elevation of, what sheet is that? The
A31.
yeah, A00 looks like a lot of downspouts. So I just have some hesitation. Maybe some refinement could be done to this before finalizing it.
All right, thank you. David, any thoughts?
I appreciate Brooke's comment about the front fence. It appears that the railing on the sleeping porch or the backside is welded metal, not aluminum. What do we know what the material is on this front one? And probably should be more respective of what I'm surprised that we approved a plank one out on the sidewalk like it shows at the maroon house. I agree with the downspout comment. Little interested in how facing the front door, the left side of the extended porch and that drain spout coming straight on down. I'm not sure how those two are. Is the roof notch then to allow the drain spout to come straight on down? Might be an issue to discuss. Let's go to, I'm understanding the garage. I appreciate Brooke saying that that's not typical from most of the village, but there are some examples of that. This reminds me of the house that sits on Second Avenue, very close to Summit, that Frank Elmer did, with the garage incorporated in the house. So there's some examples of that, but due to the length of the lot and everything, and the fact that something of this structure size was approved previously, I think we would not be able to go back and change it at this point, the coverage.
Right.
Warren, any thoughts?
I have nothing to add and no questions.
Okay, perfect. I don't know that I have really anything to add either. I think some of the elements that you've transitioned from the previous application are nice. I still like the side porch. I think that's a nice element. It does feel a little bit, since this building is now single family residence, that it would be more appropriate to have a carriage house or a separated garage than it built into the back of the house. But I understand that that's, to David's point also, we did approve this kind of footprint and all that stuff. So kind of made my peace with it. But I think, yeah, I guess I really don't have any other comments besides what everybody else has said. So, Carrick, do you have anything else you want to, do you want to respond to any of those, or just?
Do we lose him?
Maybe. I'm trying to see if he's muted.
I'm sorry about that. I was muted. Yeah, I can, look at the downspouts. Looking at it again, it certainly appears that there's probably more than what we need. The downspout that's on the left side of the front porch coming off the top roof could be eliminated. The mudroom door, it's just a door, but it could likely be eliminated. The exterior door could be eliminated, and access to the mudroom could be through the garage. It's actually kind of a man door in the back of the garage. If that were holding up a motion to approve this project, it could certainly be eliminated. Other than, I understand that there's some queasiness about the lot coverage, but we were really trying to stick to the footprint of what was there previously, and we're actually 10 feet shorter in terms of the total length of the building than what was approved previously. So, I feel like we're kind of meeting a little bit in the middle there. I guess that's where I'm at. We'd really like to proceed with this project, and if there's a way to make a motion to approve with some conditions about the downspouts that could be removed or that could be reviewed by staff, that would be excellent.
Okay.
So I'll make that motion to move to approve this application with the understanding of eliminating the man door to the exterior and relocating it to access to the garage. That downspout, a certain number of downspouts will be removed, and that exterior lighting will come back to staff for approval. and along with the exterior lighting, the fence material, so that we don't have aluminum fence out on the front street.
All right, do I have a second?
Wait, can we just pause for a second on the fence? Would you? I mean, what's the preference of the commission? I know that we don't typically see an approval of what is to the south of this site. Would that be the preference,
like
though, to have?
We'd like to see it the welded metal that you have on the sleeping porch.
Yeah, that's what it's intended to be. I'm not sure if I missed that, but it would be the welded metal, like the Maristar Montage would be the specification.
Just not the Lowe's hollow metal aluminum.
Yeah, we wouldn't use that.
Okay, so the motion is made again to eliminate the exterior man door, reduce the number of downspouts, and that submit exterior lighting and fence to staff for final approval.
All right, is there a second?
A second.
All right, so all those in favor, Lauren,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Brooke.
Yes.
I am also a yes, so the motion carries. All right. Just get those things to Kimberly, Carrick, and we're good.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Number 8 is IV-21-04-012. This is 42 to 44 East Prescott. This application is to construct a 3-story duplex with second and third stories recessed back. The overall height of the proposed duplex would be approximately 31 feet and 9 inches. I did include the comments from, I think, the wrong hearing, but I did include some previous comments. Commissioners at the business meeting were supportive on the scaling down. Commissioners were hesitant about the site plan and elevation with the garage access. The change in the garage doors feels very suburban. The East Greenwood garages and the Mona Lisa apartments may be similar to this proposed design. Staff recommends continuing at the application to allow the applicant time for updated drawings that would better fit in with the existing building fabric. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.12, standards in construction, specifically A, C, D, E, and F. And our applicant is still Carrick, so we don't need to swear him in.
That's right, perfect. All right, Carrick, if you don't mind running us through the application.
Sure. So this project obviously has completely changed from where we were previously. Just through some work with our civil engineer, it was discovered that the nearest storm outlet that we could use was almost down at First and High Street. So that would have been a significant capital undertaking to dig up the alley for the triplex that we had proposed before. Fortunately, a duplex falls under the requirements of stormwater management, so that's why we have changed this project to a duplex. In the process of reimagining the project, you know, I kind of took a look at just globally the condition of the alley and what was going on there. And, you know, in reevaluating what was happening on this alley and how narrow it is, I really felt like we were using a lot of the site as driveway and vehicular circulation when most of this alley is really, used for parking anyway, and to use the interior of the lot for vehicle circulation when the alley was being used as parking just seemed like it was a little bit too much for me. So we proposed this duplex that's got garage doors on the alley that would be right across from 4 or 5 other parking spaces. And then the main mass of the living space is set back quite a bit further from the alley, and then it allows for some green space in the rear of the yard. We're approaching this the front or the alley side facade more like an alley dwelling style building with some masonry garage facing, and then as we move towards the body of the building, we've got brick on the first floor and fiber cement on floors above. There could be some discussion, I know, with the comments about the Mona Lisa apartments and the Greenwood apartments. Kimberly, did you include the photos of those projects? I know most of those projects are 2 stories right on the alley. In this location, and with the number of conversations that we had about the size of the duplex at the corner of Prescott and the alley, one of the reasons I was sticking to a 1-story garage element in the front was primarily to respect the size of that duplex. And there's some other examples that you see, like at the top right, where the garage is kind of a 1-story element that actually hides a small patio. The other projects that you folks mentioned are all kind of 2-story right on the alley. And I don't think we would be opposed to that in further iterations if that 2 stories on the alley kind of helped with the massing or the desuburbanization of the garages. But I've probably rambled on enough now, so I'll take your comments.
Perfect. Thank you. I'd like to start. Brooke, do you mind starting us off?
No, I don't mind. I wonder, I think there's a lot going on the elevation with the garages on this front elevation. It just feels like the garages are taking precedence. And I wonder if that might be lessened if it was just a single garage, a 2-car, but single door rather than than 4 garage doors across that front elevation. And then maybe if the roof at the garages was not angled, maybe it would lessen the appearance of the garages, take the attention away from them a little bit. I think it's really tall. The building feels very tall with the compared to its neighbor to the right. And I think, it's on the side elevations on the page A22. If you were to take away the angled roof on the garage, and then maybe you could simplify, you have 2 different angles for the 3rd level and the 2nd level on that front elevation, or I guess that's the front elevation. maybe that would help simplify those elevations as well. And I'll pass from this point.
All right, thank you. Lauren, any thoughts?
I think Brooke did a really good job of explaining what made me feel uncomfortable about the elevations. I have a question about the materials. Is there a reason behind all of the different materials that you have, especially on the renderings that you showed? Like the difference between the split face brick and the regular brick and the paneling?
Yeah, I really was trying to define the garage masses a little differently from the, the rest of the building. I think beyond that, that's the only reason there was a change in material.
Okay. I'm not an
certainly
architect.
could be simplified.
Yeah, I can't speak directly to it, but this commissioner is not in favor of all the different materials. That's it.
All right, perfect, thank you. David.
I'll be real quick. I support the things that have been already spoken. I also think there was a recommendation or to continue this, and given our time frame again, with less than a half hour to finish the rest of this, this whole project needs to be simplified. It's just too tall. It's too residential with the garages out on the street. It's too many materials, and it just doesn't work. I appreciate that it's down to a duplex now. That's good. But I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done that we're not going to resolve tonight. So I would like to make a motion to continue.
All right, perfect. Yeah, and I'll add just one thing. I think Brooke had a lot of good ideas for how to solve the garage issue, and I think there are some elements just around the corner from you that kind of address that garage kind of mass, as it's almost its own building there along the alley. Just clean and simple without all the shed roofs and all that kind of stuff, which add to that complexity David's talking about. But other than that, I don't have anything else to add. So David has made a motion to continue. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor, Lauren?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
I am also in favor. So the motion carries. So Carrick, just sounds like more development and kind of solving that those front garages and looking at just materials and scale and all those pieces.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Carrick. Kimberly, number 9, I believe.
All right, this application is ID-21-04-013. This is 1084 to 1088 North High Street. The application is to replace the existing fixed mill finish storefront windows with the black anodized roll-up windows. The model would be the 521 overhead door. The windows would fit in the existing openings, so those would not be modified. And this is also to paint the west exterior brick facade with the Benjamin Moore paint and the mascarpone. The existing wall has been previously painted, but the existing paint is well worn with some unpainted infill as well. And to paint the existing mill finish entry storefront to match the black anodized roll-up sash. Graphics as proposed would include the 2 painted wood signs measuring approximately 1 foot 6 inches by 8 feet with the LED bar light above. Commissioners at the business meeting did not think it was appropriate to paint the brick. Painting the metal entrance is okay. Commissioners did express some concern about the roll-up windows. The windows are fairly low to the ground and with a low knee wall. They did want to know what the proposed use was going to be, as there's already a lot of noise in the area. Commissioners were not comfortable approving the sign portion of the application without knowing exactly the designs that were going to be on them. Commissioners did express support of the LED lighting and thought that something more artistic with the signs would also be more appropriate. It was suggested that the divisions on the front windows take their cue from the side windows, as more lights window divisions would be supported. Staff recommends approving the application with the clarification that the brick is left unpainted and the signage portion would be submitted at a later date with the complete materials. Basis for recommendation is the City Code 3116.11, standards for alteration, specifically 2, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, and then also the Short North design guidelines for paint, that it is not appropriate to paint masonry surface or architectural feature that has not already been painted, and the Short North design guidelines for signage. Todd, I will give it back to you so we can swear in our applicant.
All right, perfect. John, I see you will you state your name for the record, please? Oh, and John, you actually need to unmute yourself and do it again.
Got it. Hello, Todd. I swear that the testimony I'm about to give is the truth.
Well, perfect. Thank you. John, why don't you kind of run us through the application?
Sure. There are sort of 5 issues here. And the building, which was Monte Cristo Cigar, has been divided into 2 addresses now, 1084 and 1088. The northern, where it says CC Body Shop, that is going to be an 80-seat bar. And the south will be retail. The cues that from the side windows are actually much better in my opinion as well, although you can't see them right there. Those windows are 16 wide by 20 high, and what we could do on the front would be a 4/7 and get the same proportion. We would have about a 12.7 by 17 high window, and it would be, instead of the 521 overhead door, we would use a 511, which I believe Kimberly maybe got to you to look at, but the mullions on that are 3/4 of an inch, so it's pretty damn close to a steel frame. Yeah, that back up one, please, Kimberly. That one. So we would end up with 7 lights side to side and 4 up and down, and we would carry the same proportion. Then the graphics, well, certainly painting the silver anodized, the mill finish to black to match. That's perfect. The light bar is fine. The graphics were not given to me to submit in a timely way, so they'll come back. But the idea of the size of those signs and how they sit, are there, and the recommendation that they be more artistic, communicated to the sign company. Painting the brick. Well, I'm fine without it being painted. The tenant requested that was what they would like to do. So I kind of think that's all of it. There were kind of 5 items: the windows, the brick paint, painting the storefront to match the roll-ups, the graphics to be done at a later date, and the light bar.
All right, perfect. Thank you, John.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Lauren, do you mind starting us off?
Sure. I don't really have much to add. I think that the applicant kind of answered anything that I was going to say. I would be in approval of changing the mullions situation on the primary facade to match the more historic kind of industrial configuration. And that's my biggest thing. So everything else, I have nothing to add.
Okay, perfect. Brooke.
I am not in favor of painting the west facade at all. The rest of it, I think, is okay, as long as, I guess I'd like to, I'm assuming that with the roll-up windows on this facade, that the 80-seat bar is going to be, those will be lifted and open. Is there any work proposed for the front? I know it's parking, but is it going to remain all parking, or is there any sense of doing anything out front?
It'll be all parking. There'll be a walkway on the, obviously down the middle, but that, all the paving there is all concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the wall, the current wall to the south, has been repaired. The cigar guys love to hit walls with their SUVs after a few.
Perfect. Thanks, Brooke. David.
Could you go back to the elevation of today, this to just look at the front doors? Are there any changes on these doors?
No.
Can we at least get well, it looks like you're going to paint them black.
Yes. Yeah.
And it looked to me like the horizontal line is thinner than the one that's in the rendering. If we jump back to, maybe it's just because of the black, you gave it more weight, but I'm disappointed in the doors. They don't seem to really honor the nature of the building. I don't know when Monte Carlo or the bead factory or whatever it was called many, many years ago put those doors in. But since that's not a topic, we'll move on. I'm not in favor of painting the building. I want to stress that we had better see these graphics before they go up.
Absolutely.
Hey, we've been through this many times. Let's don't have it happen again.
Perfect. And I fall into the same thought, reasoning. I'm okay with the roll-up door that's proposed, the 511, I think it was. Not in favor of painting the building. And then the signs, right? Nothing happens until we see those graphics. And I'd even be in favor of, I mean, the lights are fine as you've got them, but I think that those would go hand in hand with what the sign actually is. Like the light would be appropriate to what the sign is. But other than that, I don't have any other comments. So with that, would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved. Proving the windows, painting the door frames, not painting the building, not placing any signage until approved, light fixtures acceptable, but recommended to hold on that until the graphic solution is presented. You may want an entirely different lighting solution if something gets creative.
Great. That's fine.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you. So all those in favor, Brooke?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
I am also a yes, so the motion carries. And so it's approved as the motion. Thanks, John. Look forward to seeing the continued stuff.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Application number 10.
All right, this is application number IV-21-04-014. This is for 792 North High Street, which was also previously reviewed as 800 North High, and I believe 790 North High. The proposed work is to place 2 televisions on the exterior of Town Hall under the covered patio. I will note this was a code violation, and I did talk with the property owner's lawyer, and he said as of right now, those TVs have been removed, but I do believe our applicant would still like to pursue putting them up. Commissioners at the business meeting were not supportive of the TVs facing the pedestrian area and have indicated that they want them removed. It has also been noted that there are speakers which have been put up, which the owner has agreed to have those taken down, but keep in mind the speakers are not part of this application. Commissioners noted that the Shore North Association has been working with property owners along North High Street regarding speakers which have caused problems in the area. And I would like to note we do have a speaker for this application, and that's from the Italian Village Society, I do believe, if memory serves me correctly. Don't want to forget about that. The applicant has noted there are also TVs along other locations along North High Street. Now, I originally have noted in this that I recommend denial of the application, but about 5 minutes before our hearing began, I did receive updated, or not updated, but I did receive additional material. So I would like to review that, but considering I can't do that now with everything going on, I suggest that we continue the application to allow me to look at those as well, so we can get everything presented and, to everybody for review.
Totally support that.
So the basis for staff recommendation is the Short North Design Guidelines for Commercial Patio and Outdoor Dining, as well as City Code 3116.13 Standards for Site Improvement. And Todd, I will give this back over to you to swear our applicants in. And I will also note that if we do have any legal matters, the city attorney is standing by, as well as our applicant has their legal team present too.
Oh, perfect. Okay, all right. Let me see. I see in the application, Corey and Robert, are both you guys on the call? Sorry, it's hard for me to see everybody.
Gary Fisher as well.
Oh, okay.
All
yeah,
right,
and so,
if I may,
yep.
Mr. Boyer, this is Ed Hasty. I'm counsel for the applicant. I believe today myself and Mr. Fisher are on here. I don't believe Mr. George will be on, but Mr. May, I believe, was trying to call in, but we can proceed without him if he's not on right now. Corey, can you hear us?
Corey May, is that who you're looking for?
Yes.
I had muted him earlier, I think, because of feedback, but I just sent him a request to unmute himself. So if he can unmute himself, he can.
Okay.
Although I don't believe he has video capability, we need all applicants or any speaker to have video capability in order to speak.
Okay, if he's unable to do that, myself and Mr. Fisher, I think, can handle this. He's he's the operations guy for this company, so that's why we wanted him on the call. So, but go ahead.
Okay. Sure. Ed, if you don't mind stating your name for the record for us.
Yes, Edward Hasty, Hastie, and I'm actually the third also, if that makes any difference.
All right, perfect. And Gary, if you don't mind stating your name for the record as well.
Gary Fisher.
All right, if you guys can raise your right hands, Gary, you might not be able to. If you don't mind, do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony this evening?
I do.
I do.
All right, then I will turn it over to you gentlemen to walk us through the application.
Thank you. This is Ed Hasty. Mr. May just texted me. His computer died. He's charging it back up. So if he gets on, great. And if he doesn't, like I said, we can proceed without him. First of all, before I go anywhere with this, let me begin by saying this applicant, this business owner, this company is very excited to be in the area. Through their brief period of operation in the Short North, they have really felt welcome and generally appreciative of the reception they've received from the community and the local government. They want to expand in the Columbus, Ohio market. They have another location that's a different concept up in the Bridge Park area, but they really enjoy being in Columbus and maintaining that positive relationship with the community and the government. Really, this is a single issue thing that we're dealing with, and that's whether or not 2 TVs that are put under like a covered dining area are appropriate. I want to stress a couple things before we begin. One, these TVs were in their original building plans that were submitted to the city. And as Gary will expound upon later, there was some confusion that we don't believe this is actually considered part of the patio. We believe it's actually part of the building area under some definitions under the Ohio Administrative Code. And when Mr. Fisher submitted the patio plans originally to the Italian Village Commission, and that's what I sent to Ms. Barnard earlier, was the approved stamped with the certificate of appropriateness. When Mr. Fisher presented those to the city originally, they actually asked him to remove this little bump out covered dining area from it because they didn't believe it was part of the patio. So first and foremost, this wasn't anybody trying to hide the ball. They were on our plans. We were told not to put this portion on the plan. So that's kind of how we ended up here today. And also because they want to foster a positive relationship. Even though we believe we're allowed to have the TVs up, they did take them down. I actually went down there today to take some pictures of them and realized that they have already been taken down pending the outcome of this request. So again, I wanted to give you that as sort of a background. We believe that the TVs are appropriate. They're surrounded on three sides by walls and barriers it would be the north, south, and east sides. They also are covered completely by the overhang of the hotel and the remaining building that's above it. Like I said, throughout this whole situation, we were led to believe this was part of the interior of the building area, and that's why these televisions were placed where they were placed. We also would ask that that we believe these are appropriate both legally and aesthetically. If you look at the picture that you can see there, a lot of this stuff is shaded both by the overhang and the columns. Thank you for putting that up, by the way. And I can put the certificate of appropriateness in the drawing up if someone wanted to see it. But again, under the Ohio Administrative Code 4301, it's 4301 1-2. I'm sorry, it's 4311 1-02-1. A building area is defined as the area included within the surrounding exterior walls or areas of a building that are not provided with surrounding walls, but they shall be included in the building area if they are underneath the horizontal projection of the floor above. And again, Gary will talk a little bit more about that when we get to it. But there's, this area, this overhang area is also sprinkled, which led us to believe it was part of the interior. And the term covered patio that's been used a few times throughout this is not one that I've seen anywhere in the code. I think covered patio maybe have a definition for residential, but I don't believe there is one for commercial. A few other things to consider about the placement and usage of these televisions. They're not hooked up to any sound. I don't think sound's ever been an issue with this business. It's actually only been open for a little bit of time. I know speakers were talked about beforehand, but any speaker usage here, which there hasn't been any recently, would have been very in the last couple of weeks. And I don't believe there's been any complaints about sound from this location. I know there has been. I represent a lot of the businesses, frankly, on High Street, ranging all the way up through campus. So I know there's been complaints throughout. Again, these were placed underneath the roof line and in a lot of ways angled towards, there's about 25 seats that are underneath the overhang there. They were angled generally for those purposes. And again, from three sides, you can't even see these TVs. I think it might be about right where this picture is taken, and about maybe 10 feet on either direction is about the only way you'd ever actually be able to see them. And there's no other screens anywhere else on the patio. There's a portion of a patio that extends kind of parallel to the street and the sidewalk. So again, we don't believe these are actually that these are actually interior as defined by the code. But again, we wanted to talk to you about what we did with them aesthetically, again, by putting them underneath the overhang and angling them more towards the seating, so you could get a picture of that. And I think from this picture, you can see where you're coming in from. That would be from the south side there. Is that on Google Maps? I'm going to ask Gary to speak and give a little bit of perspective on how we got to where we were and why we're asking for why we believe the definition is correct.
Sure. If you're ready for me, if you could leave that last image up, the one that shows that sort of long view looking north. Yeah, right there. So when we originally submitted, we submitted the area including the portion that is under the existing building. And we were advised that the line stops at the front facade of the building. And you'll notice that the covered area that we're talking about, the covered dining area, actually jogs back at that point. The building wall jogs back. So our plans for the patio that we were advised to submit and required to submit did show the seating that is outside and not under roof along the entire front of the building. So, you know, that's where we approached this from. We started out kind of showing everything on the exterior, and then we're advised that there is no view of that on the interior from this board.
Gotcha. All right, perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. I know that we have a speaker this evening that we'd like to get to. I believe it's Jenny. Are you on there?
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Sorry, I have a hard time seeing everybody.
Sorry.
Do you mind, or can you please state your name for the record?
Yes, yeah, I'm Jenny Frankert.
All right, and will you raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony this evening?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and then for a public speaker, we give you about 3 minutes.
Perfect.
So it's all yours.
Awesome. So I live and work in Italian Village, and some of you guys may know me already, but I'm also president of the Italian Village Society. So tonight I'm actually representing the society, as well as me personally as a resident here. As the commission knows, our ever-changing, ever-growing neighborhood is an extremely delicate balance of both residential and commercial space. And the Italian Village Society has welcomed and encouraged that growth over the last decades that it's been happening. I think we were founded in 1973, I believe. But it is a delicate balance, and that balance has helped invite both restaurants and their patrons to the Short North area. And we want to make sure specifically that High Street corridor lives up to its namesake as the Short North Arts District. This means a thriving and creative space for the arts. And that includes independent retailers with food as art, or local retailers with jewelry and clothing as art, as well as stunning galleries and streets built for connection and community. And this is also for local artists, and pre-COVID times for street performers as well. While this request on its own is not substantial, IBS feels that it is in direct opposition to this delicate balance. Town hall's hours are from 11 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. That's 15 and a half hours of these TVs potentially being on and part of that communal space. Being a good neighbor, I would not personally have TVs, 2 of them on my front yard. And just especially within an eye line of the sidewalk, Italian Village Society welcomes you to the neighborhood. We want to eat on your patio. We want to enjoy your space. We're appreciative of the color and excitement that you will bring to our nightlife here. But respectfully to Ed and Gary and Corey and Robert, the owner, we'd like to respectfully request that this application request is denied. With an asterisk that we will still enjoy your patios without those televisions.
All right, thank you, Jenny. Appreciate your comments.
And I do see that Mr. May has signed on, and then Mr. Hastings has his hand raised. So
okay.
I was raising my hand to notify the commission that Corey's computer was functioning again. So I don't know what you heard or did not hear, Corey, but if there's anything you would like to add about about this application, I think now would be the appropriate time for it.
Yeah, Corey, if you're going to speak, let me just swear you in real quick. If you don't mind stating your name for the record. All right.
I think you need to come off mute, Corey.
Am I off?
No, there you go. All right. Just state your name for the record.
Corey May.
And do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony?
I do.
All right. Thank you. Real quick, if you can, if you have anything to add.
No, just to reiterate what Gary was telling you. It was always our understanding that this part of the patio, I guess if you want to call it part of the patio, was not part of the IBC, I guess, review. I believe we were told when we went through multiple IBC meetings that that part didn't pertain to what they evaluated and reviewed. So we always had these TVs in the plans, and those are the plans that the city of Columbus signed off on with those showing in the plan. So I think it's just, I guess, a frustration or a misunderstanding between who has the proper approval, I guess, to determine whether we can have these TVs up or not. I respect and understand some of your concerns and issues, and that's why we did take down the TVs for the time being until we can get this figured out. And I was just walking the streets the other day just to check, and I didn't even make it 15 feet before I saw TVs on other people's properties, as well as speakers. So I was just kind of confused. I was like, well, wait a second here. Why are we getting pointed out here when there's other people on the street? I don't know if they're not following the rules or if they were approved. I want to play a fair playing field for all. That's all.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Corey. Let me turn it to applicants for their comments. It sounds though, Kimberly, that the code violation has been accommodated. They've taken the TVs down. So that has been somewhat handled from our point of view. So are we then this evening looking to approve the idea that they go back up, or because wouldn't we have to entertain a new application?
Well, the application was for the TVs to remain up, and since they have taken them down, I would assume that our applicants would still like to have them up. So since the TVs were to be up, I think it kind of keeps rolling that even though we did temporarily take them down, ultimately they'd like them to remain. Does that make sense?
Yep, gotcha. Okay, I just wanted to make sure our comments were based on something, and it's for them to go back up where they have it. Okay.
And I do want to note, we do have Shannon joining us as well. I know I saw her flicker on a couple times.
Okay, cool. All right, well then why don't let's just go around and commissioners with their comments. David, do you mind starting us off?
I believe the TV should not be seen from the sidewalk. If they wish to put them on the back of the fireplace wall that faces into that alcove so the people sitting in there can see the screen, that's fine. But we have, as a commission, and also having served on the North High Street Standards Committee, we did not want any sound transmitting from exterior of a property out to the sidewalk. If the noise is inside because the window is open and comes out to the sidewalk, that's reasonable, but not adding speakers all along the side of the buildings. And I remember when this project was reviewed, we were doing a moratorium on any speakers and electronics on the exterior of the buildings in the Short North area. And that was made very clear at the time the town hall proposal came before it. Then all the furniture disappeared, we know, and then they came back, and all of a sudden the speakers go back up on the sidewalk. I mentioned to the installer specifically that had been discussed in the Italian Village Commission meetings, that there was a moratorium and we weren't putting speakers on anybody. If somebody saw one on a building previously, it was probably done long before the moratorium went on and the noise issue was raised by the society, by residents, by other people. So I believe that we need to start with a clean slate, that you are welcome to bring it back, but if you listen to the business meeting and realizing there are 3 commissioners missing tonight, would give you a very strong opinion that no televisions or audio projections out on sidewalks was appropriate on the Italian Village side of the Short North.
All right, thank you, David. Lauren, any thoughts?
I would echo David's comments. As long as I've been on the commission, I don't think we've approved speakers outdoor. And I know that your council has mentioned that you did not put speakers and have not used speakers, but looking at slide 3, sorry for the background noise, my dog is eating. Looking at page 3, 2 speakers in between the televisions, and I just question why they're there if you're not using them. So I'd just like to draw everyone's attention to that. And I am, given the precedent that we have set and are trying to set, I don't think I'd be able to approve this application.
Brooke, any thoughts?
Well, I appreciate Lauren bringing up the speakers because I have zoomed in on that same image and do see a couple of speakers. I know that the gentleman said that the TVs were not hooked up to sound. That may not mean that they're hooked up to speak these 2 particular speakers, but I guess I would like clarification that there isn't sound coming out of the televisions and whether those 2 speakers are in fact there. And you know, I have never, I appreciate the learning experience of understanding what's considered inside the building, because that would never have followed my definition of what's inside of a building. I would not be able to approve this application.
All right, Shannon, you have any thoughts?
Shannon, you're muted.
Did she disappear?
Sorry. I'm trying to make sure I'm muted. There's like family all around. So I have nothing additional to add beyond, you know, what the other commissioners have said. I do not believe that we should be approving this application. And, you know, whether or not other speakers and TVs are on other patios, I know that there's been an effort by SNA to bring everyone else under compliance as well. So this is definitely not just us targeting one business. We're trying to systematically deal with this issue down High Street.
Yeah, and I have the same comments. I appreciate the definition of what's inside the building versus out, but we have been trying to remove the kind of noise pollution in the public right of way as well as the visual. But with that, Kimberly, you also stated before I asked for a motion that you received more information that needs to be reviewed.
Yes, Mr. Hastings actually said this as well, that there was a COA forwarded me, so I'd like to look that over.
Okay.
Just, you know, just make sure I have all of my ducks in a row and, you know, everything.
So Chairman Boyer, in light of the time sequence that we're already over our limitation or our standard, let us allow Kimberly to have the time to look through the materials and we continue this.
Is that all right with you, Mr. Hastings? I saw your hand was up.
Well, I wanted to address the speaker situation very briefly because A, it's not part of this application, but those speakers are actually down also. They were never broadcasting games or anything like that through the speakers. There was some background music that was coming through, and under the rules, you are allowed to have sound, even if you consider this a patio, whether that is or not, I guess is what it was some of the information I tried to send over to Ms. Barnard, but you are allowed to have sound provided it is directed only to that patio. And I understand spillover to the street and things like that happen. I don't believe there's been any allegations of that from these speakers, but my client can appreciate that we would want to address all of it. They took everything down over there. I actually forgot that those speakers were up again because I went and looked at it today and there was nothing there. I actually wanted to see them before we came in. So all I've given Ms. Barnhart, is our application and our certificate of appropriateness. And we've covered again why that is. This was not, again, I stress to the commission, because I sensed a little frustration from them, that this was not anyone trying to hide the ball. We were told this was part of the interior. That's why we handled it the same way. Every plan you will see that was given to the city had these features on them. It's just went just to the building department because we were told it wasn't part of the Italian Village Commission. So, and again, I wasn't at the other meetings where other things were discussed, but this is not, I stress to the commission, this is not anyone trying to play hide the ball. We followed the protocols that were given to us. That's why we believe the TVs are allowed. At the same time, we're trying to respect the commission's process and the fact that we believe we received an erroneous letter of violation. We wanted to take that stuff down so there was no question. This business is excited to be there. They're doing something there that's really interesting. I know the hours were something
Not
that,
appropriate at this time, please. Tom, you're being redundant where we've heard your statement and we need to move on.
Understood.
So, all right. So then let me entertain a motion from the group. And David, I don't know if yours was a motion or not.
It was meant to be. So let's make it an official motion to continue this application until additional materials are reviewed and represented at the next business meeting.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. All right, so all those approved of continuing this application, Brooke,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Shannon. Okay, I can see her saying yes. And then I am also a yes. So the motion carries to continue, just for us to review the additional information and then look at it next month. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Kimberly, we're on to number 11, but I actually need to jump based on our time.
Right. Actually, I think we're on to number 13. I believe 11 got withdrawn.
You're right. Kimberly, how do you want to handle the next couple? Because I gotta
So
leave.
either you can tap somebody to act as chair in your absence, or we could have somebody volunteer. But with you leaving, we go down from 5 to 4, so we still have a quorum since Shannon was kind enough to join us.
Right. Would anybody like to volunteer to chair the next couple? It's really
I'll
easy.
do it for you.
All right, perfect. Thank you, David.
It's real easy.
It's really easy. You got it. All right. Thanks, everybody. I got to run.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Todd. Bye. All righty. So item number 13 is IV-21-04-016. This is for 347 East 5th Avenue. This is for the site amenity portion. This is a conceptual review. The applicant has requested review for the architecture, density, massing, and parking only. The other parts are going to be coming back, which is the landscaping, exterior lighting, and artwork. This is to construct an amenity building along Grant Avenue. The building would be 2 stories with a cross gable roof. It will have steps leading up to it along the south and eastern sides. Also includes construction of row houses along Detroit Avenue west of the pool. Townhouses would have 2 stories with gable end roofs and 6/6 windows are proposed. Parking along Grant and Detroit would be parallel parking with front end parking along that northern edge of the site. And there's also going to be a tower by the pool. Commissioners at the business meeting questioned the narrative for the design of the amenity building. Where does it take place from? It looks like an unlikely style of building to be included in the area. Also requested were examples from the queues for the townhouse porches as well as the amenity building. Commissioners had previously noted during last month's hearing that the site amenity space should include more green space. Commissioners should offer design feedback so our applicant can use it at a future hearing. And basis for the recommendation is City Code 3116.12, new standards for new construction. This includes A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And David, I will give this over to you so we can swear. Actually, I think our applicants have already been sworn in.
That is correct.
Daniel, then,
Okay.
would you like to make any comments?
Yeah, let me be real quick. So once again, thanks everyone for staying late. This portion that is what we've been calling Site 3. It's the amenity building to this piece. I think a couple of the things that we really want you to look at. So the amenity building is the building that's on the corner. I think the images shown in the business meeting we have altered since then based off of some of the comments from that business meeting. So that amenity building, it's the dialogue and the language is going to be more of an industrial brick building that's going to be indicative of both what's happening on Site 2, which was just approved, and also some of the warehouse stuff that's just to the east of us. So it's really a one-story with a back portion of it. It's kind of a loft space that will be for a fitness area that actually has some kind of industrial-looking windows that are overlook this area through as well too. Around the corner, we've got a large-scale canopy, so it'll sort of ease that corner across, and that'll be an exterior gathering area, and also go towards the interior portion, which is where kind of the pool and the amenity space is. Then we have 4 townhouses along the back. Those have detached garages, and they also all have backyards. And the amount of green space that we have through here, I think that we have altered that from prior submissions to sort of use the land. And I think that we've been trying to get more green space back into it, partially the yards that we had just discussed, and make sure we got the right amount of streetscape. And please just give us some feedback and thoughts.
Yeah, from a big picture standpoint, briefly, there won't be any reiteration here, and I think I'd really like to focus on the brick versus what's on the screen now.
Yeah,
but the ideology is that there's a building that exists directly north of this that used to be what looked like an old carriage building. It's on the Omni site on the west side of Grant. So if you're carrying more of that sort of outbuilding old manufacturer look down into this site, into this corner along that road is a cue, as was asked for before. And then the intent is, as we go towards the west back into the neighborhood, down Detroit, there are a lot of just more residential style and scale homes. I do believe that Kevin Likens is going to continue this sort of scale of duplex or quadplex sort of individual homes down that as an intention in the future. So stepping back into the neighborhood with a lot of green space back there versus making it a very dense mode and model. Finally, we would certainly appreciate feedback. This is a function of the public process, I understand, but we've been last on our conceptuals almost every step of the way here with this project, and have had less and less commissioners involved. And it's been tough to get consistent feedback, and things have come up over and over along the way that are differing. So as much as you can give us, we'd certainly appreciate it.
Okay, who would like to start that we have left on? Shannon, would you like to participate? Not hearing her and needing to move time forward. Brooke, would you offer a comment?
Sure, I will. I have a question about the package of information that I have in front of me. It looks like there's 2 concepts. One is a red brick and one is a continuation of white brick, or whatever the materials of the townhouses are.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yes, the white brick was what we had originally reviewed at the business
got
meeting. I didn't want to take that out in case anyone wanted to.
Okay, I remember that. Then I would say that I very much prefer the red brick amenity building concept, and think that it's fitting for an urban neighborhood. It sets itself apart from the townhouses, and I would look forward to further development of it.
Lauren?
I'm too am more in favor of the red brick iteration. I am curious as to how you got to the oversized canopy. I'm not sure if I think it's terribly appropriate, but I'd be interested in the narrative behind it. Also, at the risk of sounding redundant from your earlier appearance, I think that while shade is definitely needed, that's nothing that can't be solved with more trees and more here. That's just something for the future for you to keep in mind. So other than that, I think that I have nothing to add.
I see Shannon's back with us. Let's jump to her. Whoops. She's still muted.
Still muted.
Okay, so Matt, I'll try
Thank
red
you.
brick as a check for me. But speaking of the canopy, which seems overwhelming for the small cube building on the corner, and picking up on what Lauren said, do you remember in a lot of these manufacturing areas, they used to have outdoor sheds? It was areas where steel was stacked or things, materials, and it would be up on posts and be more like a shed. Or if you think of like a North Market, the structures out where the green grocers would come, which could actually be maybe an activity to use that. Don't hook the canopy to the building, but make it a sidewalk feature that might be used for outdoors events, or it's close enough to the building so that it could still cover the armchairs that are shown in your rendering. But something is wrong with the scale, the massing of it maybe for as big as it is on the smaller building. And then I'd like to go to the townhouses if it's okay to make a comment on that just a minute. I am really, I like to share this with the commissioners, fellow commissioners, but if you drive 3rd Avenue now and watch what Battelle has done on 5th Avenue, isn't that on 5th of King, where they put all those houses right up on the street and they're all just right smashed. I'm worried that that's what this could lead to. Could we talk about separating those structures, not really joining them, more like the soldier houses that you used to live very near to, that you would probably be familiar with, but get a rhythm going, but not everything just straight down on the street, all in the same way. Looking at the lot plan, it looks like you could do something. So this commissioner would be more in favor of seeing those as single family detached houses rather than just a block, a great big row. But do like the way that you change the materials from those to the community building.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Now can we get to
Okay,
Sharon?
Can you hear me now?
We got you.
Sorry. Cabins in the woods are not conducive to commission meetings. I agree about I prefer the brick. Agree about the canopy. I think it needs a little work. However, I do appreciate the chairs underneath kind of providing a shaded spot for folks to maybe sit there with a cup of coffee or something like that. So I wouldn't say, get rid of it, just a little bit of work needed. And I actually also do agree with Commissioner Cook. I don't think these need to be freestanding single family homes for the townhomes, but, a traditional duplex, row of duplexes might be nice. And I do want to note that I really do appreciate the amount of backyard space you've given these homes. I think that's something we're starting to lack here in the village, and like seeing that you're kind of adding those backyards back in. Those are all my comments.
Good.
Thank you for the feedback.
We've covered all the commissioners. So do we want to have a motion to continue?
We're just conceptual, but I like your vigor.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Item number 15 is IV-21-04-018. And just a note, item number 14 did get withdrawn, which is why we're skipping it. This is for 915 North 4th Street. This is another conceptual review. This is to alter the existing garage into a two-story carriage house. The proposed carriage house would measure 22 feet wide by 40 feet, 10 inches deep. It would be approximately 28 feet and 8 inches tall. The proposed roof would step back slightly with a flat deck for the rooftop access. Then differently pitched gables. The proposed garage would remain a two-car garage with separate garage doors. The conceptual variances are also provided. At last I knew, our applicant was still working with the Building and Zoning Department to nail these out, so we're not voting on them yet. But these would be for the R4 district requirements. Fronting rear yard at the lot is required to be 50 feet wide. Maximum side yards, 2 of those, and minimum side yards permitted. Commissioners at the business meeting thought that the carriage house would be appropriate. There was some concern regarding the proposed height to the height of the adjacent structures. And per the county auditor's site, the detached garage was constructed in 1994. Staff has included the 1921 to 1951 Sanborn map, which showed a historic single-car garage, which was demolished at some point over the years. And HBO staff did confirm that the neighboring garages are of similar to height to the one proposed with our applicant, but they are not rendered that way, which is why we've got that height discrepancy on those. Commissioners should provide feedback for our applicant to use at future meetings. The basis for the recommendation is City Code 3116.12 and standards for new constructions, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I will give this back to you, David, so we can swear in our applicant.
Good. And who is our applicant tonight?
It is I,
Kareem. Okay. Would you raise your right hand, please, and confirm that all the testimony you're giving this evening is truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you. Would you like to address any updates for us?
Sure. Not too much more than what Kimberly said. Thank you, Kimberly, and good evening, and thank you for your time, everyone. We are just proposing here a carriage house on a lot with a single-family home, an existing two-car garage, as shown in our submission. Adjacent uses do show accessory dwelling units, very similar in nature. To our south, we have a 3-story newer multifamily complex as well. Reason I say that because is in the renderings, it does show that our proposed building is taller than them, but indeed it's not. We're within striking distance of the neighboring carriage house and certainly no taller than the single family home on the lot or the 3-story complex. That being said, one component we were looking for clarification on was sort of this historic value, potential historic value. In our discussions with staff, it seemed that there was a possibility of quote unquote historic fabric wanting to be preserved in this. Our team certainly feels like we could provide a much better product if we were given the ability to do a new construction rather than alteration here. So we were looking for elaboration on what was looking to preserved, if any. And with that, that's all that we'd like to point out besides than what we've submitted.
Okay. Shannon, would you like to comment?
Yes. So I guess I'll work backwards. I don't seem to remember any conversation about preserving the structure. On my end, certainly, I think it's fine for. I think the demolition is appropriate. The replacement is appropriate. Honestly, this application was a really great application. I would say the only question that I had with it was height in relation to the existing building. We saw the height up to the roof line, but then not on the top of the roof. And so the only thing I really have to comment is that I just want to ensure that it is a little bit shorter than the existing home. And other than that, I think it's very appropriate.
Okay, Brooke.
I agree with everything that Shannon has said. I think it's a really nice application. And I too would just agree with making sure that it's, so it's lower than the, oh, I like it.
Lauren,
I have nothing to add.
is there a chance to show the other two? I'm getting the south and east elevations only, which seem very few penetrations. A door that I'm not sure I understand why it's in the middle, and the little square window on the east elevation. Can we see the other two elevations? Where is there light in this? Do we have any? There. There's another very peculiar window on the north elevation. My only issue on this is that there are, yes, other garage structures, and you keep showing the green cottage one and the white one that looks like it came out of New England. But to the best of my knowledge, those are not living units. Those are not, a household is not living in those structures. In the two garages I'm showing here, they're not residents. They're very large garages. And yes, this one has an apartment in it, but they're not a house. And that's where I'm wondering, what address do you even have for this property? To the best of my knowledge, this alley has no name. So what is your street address on here? So those would be some concerns as we continue this to bring forward to us.
And thank you for those comments. We do definitely aspire to have a door facing, I believe it is the east elevation. We will be working on the windows and natural lighting a bit more.
Stop on the model right there back. I'm sorry, could you jump back just a minute? What is the cube directly below? That is the garage across the alley, correct? Not yours. That's. Is that
You know,
right? Okay.
I couldn't tell you exactly what's there. If you guys have
Okay.
Google Earth,
I think
maybe
that
we
is
can-
another garage. So what I'm trying to say is there is no residence on that alley, other than this would be a one only residence. So that's a little bit something we'll talk later. So you've got some input for you this evening? Okay, and this is conceptual, correct, Kimberly?
Correct.
So we don't need to make a motion to continue. Okay,
Correct.
all right, moving on.
So number 15 was our last one.
Okay. Do you have any other announcements or anything that you want to cover with us?
At the moment, no, I'm trying to get through tomorrow before I think.
Sure. I wish you well on that. Could I ask one of the commissioners to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second. So second, all those in favor, can we just as a group say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good night to all.
Good
Good
night,
night.
and thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly.